Chapter 611, 2 versus 2. Douluo shot a look at Tang Wuling. What are you doing? Tang Wuling smiled. I don't want you to get tired. What am I going to do if you get grumpy when you're tired? You know, you age faster when you're in a bad mood. I know we're going to slowly grow old together, but wouldn't it be better if we make it even slower? You're the one who's going to get old. Douluo couldn't help but smile, warmth in her gaze. The two climbed onto the stage just as their opponents did as well. Meng Zarin walked up onto the stage with his hands in his pockets, head tilted askew in seeming contempt and astonishment when he saw Tang Wuling and Douluo. To Meng Zarin, Tang Wuling and Douluo looked fairly young, a couple of years less than 20 years old. Each year of training under 20 years old was significant. However, there were still many younger competitors, although most of them were here just for training for the next time. He himself had participated in the tournament when he was younger for training. As such, he looked down on Tang Wuling and Douluo for how young they were, but he was also pleased with what seemed an easy victory. Meng Zarin glanced at him, partner. Let's finish this up in 1 minute. No, half a minute. Meng Zarin's partner, Dia, rolled her eyes. You're so cocky. How can you be certain they're not strong? Meng Zarin shrugged. Is there any point in asking? Just look at how young they are. They can't be any older than 16. 17 if we're stretching it. I'm nearly 20 years old. There's no reason for us to lose to these kids. That boy's super handsome. Dia hid her face in her hands, overwhelmed by Tang Wuling's handsome features and large, bright eyes. Hey, pay attention. Could you stop acting so smitten? Meng Zarin groaned as he stepped in front of Dia to block her line of sight. Get out of the way. Dia kicked him aside. I don't care. We're fighting in a moment, so let me memorize his face for now. You know, I can't see any bad points about him at all. He's sunny, handsome, and tall. If he's strong too, then he's my Prince Charming. You damn love-struck fool. Meng Zarin grumbled, but didn't dare get in the way again. He didn't dare incite her into a frenzy. The referee arrived on the stage a moment later and declared the rules of the match. Then Dia took the lead and walked toward the center of the stage. Tang Wuling stared at Dia in astonishment. Aren't we about to fight? Why is she walking over before the start of the match? Hey, what's your name? Dia asked, her heated gaze landing on Tang Wuling. Tang Wuling was taken aback, slowly pointed at himself. Me? Yeah. You. What's your name, little brother? How old are you? Do you have a girlfriend? Dia asked excitedly. Go back to your side. The match is about to begin. This is the Continental Young Elites tournament, not some blind date conference. The referee said, glaring at her. Yeah. I got it. Hey, you handsome boy, what's your name? Hurry up and tell me, Dia urged. I'll tell you if you win, Tang Wuling said, beaming. Wow. Your smile is blinding. The referee couldn't help but stare for a moment. Hurry up and go back. Otherwise I'll disqualify you. Meng Zarin couldn't watch this any longer. He ran over and forcibly dragged Dia back. Tang Wuling silently chuckled to himself. This was his first time encountering an opponent like her. He couldn't help but direct a wry smile at Douluo. You see that? Our opponent has impeccable taste. Douluo just stared at him. You have 1 minute. If you don't settle it by then, I'll step in. You're not telling her your name. Got it, boss? Tang Wuling smirked. Once Meng Zarin finished dragging Dia back to their side, the judge declared, let the match begin. Meng Zarin immediately charged forward. He didn't want to be around Dia any longer, so he opted for a direct confrontation to end the battle as soon as possible. A pair of wings unfurled from Meng Zarin's back as he advanced. His wings were small, allowing only for limited flight, but when he leapt into the air, they were more than enough to carry him in a glide. 2 yellow and 2 purple soul rings appeared around him. Accompanied by the summoning of his martial soul, his hair rapidly gained streaks of various colors. This was the transformation of his martial soul, the golden pheasant. It was an agility-type martial soul with a certain peculiarity in that its attacks were based on its feathers. It had feathers of many different colors, each with their own effect. The feathers appearing on his body occurred in 4 colors: red, blue, yellow, and green. He brandished a pair of red feathers as his first soul ring lit up. Then he threw them straight at Tang Wuling and Douluo. As the feathers shot forward, they transformed into 2 blazing birds that spread their wings wide and let out a screech. Hey, slow down a bit. Dia shouted as she hurried after Meng Zarin. Tang Wuling only had 1 minute, so he had rushed forward the instant the match began as well. 2 golden soul rings appeared around him, the first shining bright. Golden dragon body. Golden scales covered Tang Wuling's torso and right arm as he advanced, claws growing from his hands. Faced with these blazing birds, he didn't even bother to evade. Whoa. Golden soul rings. That's so cool. Dia exclaimed. At the same time, a cold shiver ran down Meng Zarin's spine. The most troublesome part of the tournament was not knowing anything about the opponent. What are those golden soul rings? Tang Wuling's golden dragon claws twinkled under the light as they easily tore through the flaming birds. High's momentum not slowing the slightest. He launched forward at Meng Zarin. 2 blue feathers flew out, transforming into icy birds mid-flight. A bit of cold aura burst from the birds as they attacked Tang Wuling. Interesting. A fire and ice dual element user. No. He shouldn't be an elementalist. This is his martial soul. As Tang Wuling pondered his opponent's martial soul, he smashed the ice birds into smithereens with his claws. Unlike the flame birds, these ice birds actually had a tangible form and higher attack power. Seeing Tang Wuling's unstoppable momentum, Meng Zarin didn't hesitate to summon pull out 2 golden feathers from the top of his head and throw them at the ground. In reality, the number of feathers on his head and the number of colors corresponded to his soul power and soul skills. In other words, there were as many feathers on his head as his soul power could produce, and the number of each color had been decided the moment he summoned his martial soul. This could be considered a limitation of his martial soul, but it was easily sidestepped by unsummoning and resummoning his martial soul to change the feather colors. The advantage was that he could unleash soul skills in an instant. The moment he threw the feather, it would activate a soul skill. At that moment, Tang Wuling was nearly upon Meng Zarin. The 2 yellow feathers he had thrown on the ground earlier blossomed with brilliant yellow light. To Tang Wuling's amusement, what appeared was not 2 birds, but a pair of brown chickens. The chickens spread their wings wide and jumped on Tang Wuling. What an amusing martial soul he has. Tang Wuling stomped into the ground and shot forward, accelerating his approach. In a blur of movement, he tore through an opening between the chickens and continued onto Meng Zarin. The chickens were not slow by any means, but it was impossible for them to keep pace with the Tang's exposed shadow perplexing step. Meng Zarin nearly yelped in surprise as Tang Wuling's claws shot toward him. Dear. Meng Zarin screamed. Hey, pretty boy, I'm coming. Dear said. The next instant, a sweet fragrance assaulted Tang Wuling's nose and his mind went blank. He felt as if his mind was covered in mud. Poison. These 2 really are a strange pair. Tang Wuling now saw a pair of pink butterfly wings behind Dia. With a flap of her wings, her second soul ring shone and a pink fog floated toward Tang Wuling and Meng Zarin. Strangely, this fog scattered when entered Meng Zarin's proximity, refusing to touch him. With a boom, the 2 chickens were sent flying out of the fog. Huh. Dia then witnessed Meng Zarin being sent flying 20 meters away before crashing on the ground unconscious. She had summoned her poison fog and hit Tang Wuling with it swiftly earlier, so he should have been stunned. Yet he somehow still managed to defeat Meng Zarin. She couldn't understand it. Meng Zarin hadn't even gotten to use his 4th soul skill yet he was already down. Tang Wuling's body was undoubtedly a marvel. After 2 months of torturous training under the ocean, his body's potential had been dragged out and raised its toughness drastically. His body was far stronger than before now thanks to the body sex hard training methods. Chapter 612, Steamrolling. The poison fog Dia summoned did not possess particularly strong toxicity. Its main purpose was incapacitating those affected by putting them into a stupor. Tang Wuling had taken a full hit of the poison fog, but his strong body made its effects negligible. A draconic roar erupted when Tang Wuling stomped his right foot. Phantom dragons shot out of the ground and swarmed Dia. Whoa. Dia cried out. With a flap of her butterfly wings, she soared up into the air, but the 8 phantom dragons were already upon her, spiraling around her to generate a force pulling her back to the ground. Golden Dragon Shakes the Earth didn't just have a stunning effect, but also had the effect of pulling its target toward the ground. The Scarlet Dragon Douluo had originally created Dragon Shakes the Earth to deal with flying soul masters. At his peak level, it could pull soul masters flying as high as 1,000 meters in the air back down. Dia had a fairly tough body, but it couldn't be compared with the power of Golden Dragon Shakes the Earth. Try as she might to struggle, she still fell to the ground. The moment she landed, her soul rings lit up and her wings grew to thrice as large. She summoned an enormous fog of poison far more potent than before around her. Tang Wuling charged forward and tore through the fog to attack the butterfly wings. The moment his claws slashed the wings, sparks shot out from their contact, but that only lasted a moment before Tang Wuling had a firm grip on her. He stomped once more and dispersed the fog in the air. the area. The tremors ran through Dia's body and disrupted her blood essence flow, instantly sending her body rigid. The match is finished. Team 161 is the victor. The match had lasted nearly 40 seconds. Meng Zarin and Dia didn't have any teamwork at all and underestimated their opponent, so this outcome was to be expected. However, that did not lessen the terrifying toughness of Tang Wulin's body. Boss, mission complete. Tang Wulin said as he walked back to Douluo with a huge grin. When Dia recovered from the shocks, she didn't immediately step down from the stage. Instead, she chased after Tang Wulin. Hey pretty boy, I know I lost, but could you tell me your name anyway? You're so cool. You're a perfect little prince. I'm your fan now. Tang Wulin was taken aback, blinking blankly at her a few times. You want to make me noodles? He asked, Miss Yurina, I wonder how much it would take to fill me up. Seeing Dia's blank look, Douluo couldn't help but roll with laughter to the point where her stomach hurt. Feeding a glutton like him was no walk in the park. Meng Zarin ran over and dragged her off the stage, so she never learned Tang Wulin's name. He had thought he was fairly eccentric himself, but he couldn't hold a candle to Dia's flame. Shrek Academy had pretty good luck for the first round of 2-on-2s. After Tang Wulin and Douluo's match, none of the other pairs encountered any powerful opponents, and they all won their matches. Upon one of the viewing platforms, Dai Tianling asked one of his aides, Shrek Academy is strong, just as we expected. It's no wonder they're the #1 academy on Douluo. Has the data analysis been finished? The analysis is done. From their previous matches and the individual competition, the strongest one is likely their captain, Tang Wulin. He's the same kid who caused a commotion during the opening ceremony, answered an elder as he scrolled through a tablet. During his first match in the individual competition, he defeated Ling Wuxi. Although Ling Wuxi isn't from Monster Academy, he's one of the greatest talents of the rising generation. He's even a one-word battle armor master. That Tang Wulin managed to defeat a one-word battle armor master? Dai Tianling didn't know how to feel about this, but he had to acknowledge that his troublesome daughter had good eyes. Yes, he did. I carefully reviewed the recording of the battle and have concluded that Tang Wulin has plenty of real combat experience. Due to his age, his cultivation level is lower and he doesn't have as many battle armor pieces yet. But when Tang Wulin fought Ling Wuxi, he utterly suppressed Ling Wuxi and prevented him from bringing out the power of his battle armor. From there, he continued chaining attack after attack. Judging from the damage to Ling Wuxi's armor, Tang Wulin possesses frightening strength and attack power, far higher than what an ordinary 4-ring soul master is capable of. There seem to be some peculiarities about his body and there are also those golden soul rings we need to take note of. We don't know what those rings are yet, but we're certain they are the fabled million-year soul rings. Dai Tianling smiled. What an interesting brat. Shrek Academy really is a gathering of monsters. Keep a close eye on him. For the first time, Dai Tianling felt that his daughter was ripe for stirring up trouble. As the Emperor of Douluo, he was always in need of talented individuals. Although Tang Wulin came from Shrek Academy, Dai Tianling was the Emperor of a country. If he could confirm whether or not Shrek Academy was cultivating him as a core member for the future, then he would have a better idea of how to handle this. When Tang Wulin and his friends finished their matches for the day and were leaving the stadium, someone called out right at the entrance, Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin turned to see Dai Yuna poking her head out from a corner and waving at him. There was no doubt that Tang Wulin viewed Dai Yuna in a bad light. After the stunt this princess pulled the other day, he had become the target of much criticism. Although no one took note of him now, once the tournament advanced further and the number of participants thinned out, more would notice him and he would likely run into opponents with grievances against him. Regardless of his opinion of her, however, she was still an imperial princess. He couldn't treat her too rudely. He walked over to her as his friends gawked at them from afar. Gu Yuang maintained a calm expression, her hands stuffed into her pockets casually as she watched in silence. Hello, your highness. How can I help you? I watched your match, and I watched a recording of your duel too. You're pretty good. Dai Yuna said, a sweet smile on her face. That's good, Tang Wulin said perfunctorily. Dai Yuna said, do your best. If you win the individual competition, maybe you'll become the Emperor's son-in-law. Tang Wulin rolled his eyes at her. My apologies, your highness, but I'm from Douluo. I have no plans of staying here. Please do not choose me. You're not my type anyway. Dai Yuna was stunned by Tang Wulin's blunt rejection. After watching him fighting in the 2-on-2 and 1-on-1 matches, her interest in him was piqued. She had always heard that Shrek Academy was Douluo's #1 academy. In fact, it had held that position for over 20,000 years. Tang Wulin was the same age as her, yet he possessed far greater strength than others their age. He was even able to defeat a one-word battle armor master. With the addition of his dashing good looks, Dai Yuna couldn't help but be interested in him and want to chat with him. Yet when she approached him, she got a bucket full of cold water dumped over her head by his blunt rejection. Since she was a child, Dai Yuna had been doted on by her father. She cherished by both her father and brothers, the apple of their eyes. When it came to her, they would always bend to fulfill even the most ridiculous of requests. No matter what sort of trouble she caused, her elder brothers would clean up after her. Never before in her life had she been rejected so coldly. She could see the annoyance and impatience in Tang Wulin's eyes as he looked at her. The contrast with his mask of politeness stabbed at her heart. She hadn't actually wanted to take Tang Wulin as her husband, but had just been teasing him. However, his rejection hurt her self-esteem. You. Dai Yuna put both her hands on her hips and glowered at him, her large eyes filling with tears. Your highness, if you don't have anything else to say, I'll leave to go rest. After regarding her for a moment, Tang Wulin waved goodbye and left. Chapter 613, The Call of the Tang Sect. Tang Wulin, hold up a minute. Dai Yuna furiously shouted after him. Back turned to her. Tang Wulin opened up his arms and shrugged as he continued walking away. He didn't have a good impression of her at all. He couldn't get along with manipulative pranksters like her. Furthermore, he wasn't a citizen of the Douluo Empire, so he had no loyalty to the Douluo imperial family. Dai Yuna watched Tang Wulin leave with his friends, her chest huffing up and down with anger. Just you wait. She turned around and ran off, straight for the imperial palace. Dai Yuna had snuck out of the palace today, so she ran unhindered all the way back as well. She headed straight for one of the inner rooms. Fourth brother, she shouted before she even reached the door. The door opened and a bright voice sounded. Oh, Miss Princess, did you stir up some trouble again? How big is the problem this time? A man in his 20s walked out in a green robe. He was handsome, tall, and slender with a scholarly air to him as his mouth parted in a subtle smile. He held a book in his hands, seemingly have been interrupted in his reading. Fourth brother. Dai Yuna ran over to him, tears streaming from her eyes. Dai Yuan's smile vanished and he hurriedly hugged his sister. What happened to my little princess? Who hurt you? Hurry up and tell your fourth brother. Dai Tianling had many sons, but the imperial family still lived in harmony. They had to for the sake of the Douluo Empire. Thousands of years ago, when the Douluo Empire still existed on the continent of Douluo, the sons of the emperor would compete in life and death struggles for the right of succession. The most powerful would earn the right to become the next emperor. However, after a certain generation, this tradition of ruthless competition between siblings was abolished. Instead, it was required that they all live together peacefully and only compete in fair circumstances. Even with the change in tradition, only the most outstanding of the sons would succeed the emperor. The Dai clan could trace its roots back tens of thousands of years. Dai Yuan was undoubtedly the most promising son of his generation. At the age of 19, he was a military genius cherished by Dai Tianling, who already planned to make him the crown prince once he turned 20. Dai Yuan and Dai Yuna were born to the same mother, and among all the brothers, he was the one who doted on her the most. In fact, he doted on her even more than their father, Dai Tianling. As a result, Dai Yuna always went to look for him first when she ran into trouble. Although Dai Yuna was a troublemaker, she was a very cheerful person. It was only once in a blue moon that she would cry so much, and usually, she was only faking it to gain sympathy. Seeing his sister shed so many tears, Dai Yuan panicked and did his best to comfort her, but she remained silent, digging herself deeper into his arms as she wailed and stomped her feet. Don't cry. Don't cry. Be a good girl, Yuna. Tell Big Brother what happened. Big Brother will definitely help you. Did you do something wrong? Did father punish you? Dai Yuan asked uncertainly. He knew full well how much their father spoiled her. Dai Tianling was always too reluctant to give her any sort of severe punishment. If not for his lenience, Dai Yuna wouldn't have grown up to be such a spoiled kid. It's not father. Father wouldn't punish me. It's some other guy. Fourth brother. You know that diplomatic delegation from Douluo? One of the boys from Shrek Academy is awful. The one called Tang Wulin. He bullied me. Dai Yuna cried out. Shrek Academy. Dai Yuan heart thumped. Yeah. Shrek Academy. The night we had a banquet to welcome the diplomatic delegation, I invited him to dance with me as a show of friendliness, but he deliberately stepped on my feet. Oh. Didn't you say you wanted to choose him for your fiancé and make him the target of all the men there though? Dai Yuan asked, having kept well informed. Although he hadn't attended the banquet due to work, he still kept looped in. Yeah. It's that guy. I didn't really want to make him my fiancé. I was just playing with him, but I never thought he would be so strong. He entered the Continental Young Elites tournament and has already won 2 matches. He's so arrogant. I ran into him today at the stadium and he told me I'm not worthy of him. He even said Douluo Soul Masters are weak. He said that even at just 15 years old, he can beat us all. He's awful. He makes me so mad. Fourth brother, help me vent my anger. Dayuna said, peppering in new details to the story wherever she pleased. Dayuan furrowed his brow as he listened. He knew his sister well and knew that probably only 30% of what she said was true. However, he was certain that Tang Wuling had offended her in some way. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so angry. Fourth brother, I swear I'm telling the truth. He told me I'm not worthy of him. Even if I played a trick on him the other day, to say that to me in front of so many people is just, ugh. Dayuna began crying again. Dayuan was starting to believe it now. He understood his sister and knew that whenever she swore on something, she truly meant it. He's just some foreigner. How could my little sister not suit him? Dayuan's eyes were aflame with anger. Yuna, don't cry. Big brother will get back at him for you. Anyway, doesn't Monster Academy have 2 free rounds in the competition? When we finally face them, we'll show them just how much stronger we are with a good smackdown. They won't have the face to even speak back afterward. That'll get you a revenge. Unknown to Tang Wuling, he had drawn the ire of the Imperial Princess and had just created a new obstacle for himself. When he returned to the hotel with his friends, he immediately went to his room and began meditating. With the excessive crowds the Continental Young Elites tournament attracted to the area, he had no desire to venture out into the city. Suddenly, Tang Wuling took out a badge from his inner chest pocket. It pulsated with a gentle white light. An arrow slowly emerged on its surface. It's a summons from the Tang Sex Battle Hall. The badge was the one he obtained from the Battle Hall, the same one that every agent of the Battle Hall possessed. As a white class agent, his badge was also white. On the back was a button he could press to request help from any other agents within a 50-kilometer radius. Any agent who received the call would rush over to help. The arrow currently displayed indicated the source of the distress. Tang Wuling hastily changed into his Battle Hall uniform and put on his white mask and pulled his white hood low. He dashed out of the hotel, rushing in the direction indicated on the badge. This was Tang Wuling's first time getting a distress signal since obtaining the Battle Hall badge. He found the situation somewhat strange. There should be a headquarters in Douluo City. He couldn't fathom how an agent could face danger so close to the headquarters. Tang Wuling opted for less populated streets and alleys as he ran in the direction of the arrow. As he got closer, the arrow began blinking more and more rapidly. For the sake of his fellow agent's safety and remaining stealthy, he used his ghost shadow perplexing step to run. Moments later, he arrived on the scene, but he stared in astonishment at the towering building before him. The building's architecture was similar to that of a castle, with simple decorations. On a signboard hanging from the gate were 2 words, Tang Sect. The distress signal came from within the Tang Sect. Quickly scanning the area, Tang Wuling saw numerous other agents dressed the same as him arriving, but none of them stopped at the gate, charging straight into the Tang Sect instead. Although Tang Wuling had some doubts, he hurriedly followed in after them. He had never expected to visit the local Tang Sect headquarters under such circumstances. Strange as he found it, he couldn't help but be curious as well. Why is the distress signal coming from inside? Tang Wuling stole glances of the interior of the headquarters as he followed the other agents. To his astonishment, the building was as grand as the Imperial Palace and far larger than the Tang Sect in Shrek Academy. Soon, he and the other agents arrived in a large hall. About 30 agents were gathered already. They all wore hooded cloaks and masks, as regulated by the Battle Hall. None of the agents knew the identities of their colleagues for the sake of confidentiality. Standing before the gathering of agents was an agent with their hands behind their back and wearing a black mask and hood. Chapter 614, the Battle Hall's mission. Good. We have enough people now, the black class agent said, then raised his right hand and pressed the button on his black badge. The distress signal immediately cut out. He's the one who sent the call for help. Tang Wuling's eyes went wide. Wait. It wasn't a distress signal. It was a summons. So it's used like that too. Tang Wuling had rushed over in a hurry since this was his first time participating in a Battle Hall mission, and on the continent of Douluo, no less. What did he gather all of us here for? In truth, there was a special system in place at the Tang Sect in Shrek Academy that blocked Tang Wuling's badge from receiving any of these distress signals. This was due to his status as a Shrek Academy student and his tremendous potential. It was better to avoid bringing him in the harms way before he graduated as a one-word battle armor master. However, due to the independent systems between Tang Sect branches, the local one signal still went through to Tang Wuling's badge. As a result, he would participate in his first mission as a Battle Hall agent today. Now that he was here, he decided to make the best of it and participate in the mission. In any case, since they were all in identical uniforms, no one would be able to identify him. The black class agent said, "We've received reliable intel that the Green Skull Renegades are planning an attack on Douluo City tonight. We've already discovered and verified their site of attack, but we don't know where their base of operations is yet. All we can do is prepare at the targeted site. I will be leading this squadron out to intercept them. Everyone, prepare for battle. The Green Skull Renegades are extremely vicious. In order to minimize civilian casualties, you are all permitted to kill them on sight. Before we begin the mission, confirm your identities. Confirm our identities. How do I do that?" Tang Wuling was at a loss, but soon after, he saw the other agents raise their badges. He motioned to do the same, holding his white class agent badge high. The black class agent's badge was much larger than Tang Wuling's. It seemed to have additional functionality built into the device. A black light shot out from the black badge and into the white badges of the gathered agents. In response, the badges lit up in several colors like a starry expanse. Among them were 4 purple lights, shining brighter than the rest, and 12 yellow lights. The rest were all white. Not counting the black class agent, there were 30 agents gathered at the moment. 4 were purple class, 12 were yellow class, and the remaining 14 white class. According to the rules of the Battle Hall, black class agents had to be at least a 3-word battle armor master. Purple class had to be 2-word battle armor masters. Yellow class were 1-word battle armor masters, and white class agents needed at least 4 soul rings, 1 piece of battle armor, and the potential to become a 2-word battle armor master or higher. In other words, currently, there was 1 3-word battle armor master, 4 2-word battle armor masters, and 12 1-word battle armor masters gathered here. In the minutes that had gone by since the badge released its signal, so many powerful people had gathered. Tang Wuling couldn't help but be in awe of the Tang Sect's strength on Douluo. Let's depart. We will figure out the details of the plan on the way there. The black class agent opened a sliding door with a wave of his hand and set out. The rest of the agents following in silence. Beyond the door was an elevator that they rode down to an unknown depth. Clueless as he was, Tang Wuling simply followed obediently. Soon, they found themselves before 3 identical soul buses, each with tinted windows that obscured the interiors from outside view. Tang Wuling followed the agents and boarded a bus. There was a single purple class agent on his bus while the rest were white class agents. Once everyone was on board, the purple class agent distributed a small packet to everyone and said, "Put this communication device in your ears. Maintain contact at all times. You'll also find your assigned number for this mission in the packet. Your mission is to prevent any Green Skull Renegades from escaping the area. Furthermore, be prepared to receive new commands at any moment. You'll also find a digital map showing which areas you are responsible for. If you need assistance, report your serial number and situation. This time the Green Skull Renegades will definitely use soul bombs for their attack, so the danger level is high. Be on your guard. If you find a bomb, report it immediately and we'll dispatch agents specialized in bomb defusing. Unless you're absolutely confident, do not try to destroy the bombs. Understood?" "Yes, sir." The white class agent said in chorus. His first time participating in a mission, Tang Wuling's response lagged a beat behind the rest. The purple class agent's eyes shifted to Tang Wuling. "White 3, do you have something to say?" Tang Wuling's assigned code name was White 3. "No," he answered promptly. Although Tang Wuling's voice made it clear he was younger than the rest of the agents, the purple class agent paid it no mind. There was no reason for doubts based on an agent's age since all agents were handpicked by the Tang Sect for their combat ability. A young agent was nothing peculiar. "Is this your first time participating in a mission?" The purple class agent, whose code name was Purple 1, asked. "Yes." Tang Wuling was a bit embarrassed about the fact, but he had to come clean. Don't be so nervous. The key parts of the mission will be accomplished by yellow class and above agents. All your white class agents need to do is secure the perimeter. Just focus on your job. As long as you keep track of the time and don't let your guard down, there shouldn't be any problems. If you encounter a problem beyond your control, immediately call for help. The agents closest to you will rush over to assist. Understood, Tang Wuling said, the tension disappearing from his shoulders, leaving only excitement. Tang Wuling detested the Green Skull renegades. Shortly after he arrived on Douluo, they had launched a terrorist attack on his train. Now that he had a chance to retaliate, he was eager to do so. As the bus sped along the road, Purple One gave off more detailed orders to prepare them all for the mission. Afterward, Tang Wuling inspected the digital map stored in the bracelet given to him. Then he put the communication device in his ear and adjusted it. We've arrived, said Purple One soon after. The 3 buses parked in a side road. Then the doors silently slid open to let the agents out. Everyone immediately burst into action according to the orders they received on the bus. Apart from the black class agent, the other 31 agents quickly spread out to secure the area. It was afternoon, so they still had a few hours to prepare for the Green Skull renegades attack at night. Tang Wuling went to the area marked on the map that he was responsible for. Once he arrived, he surveyed the area and found a dark corner to hide in. From what Purple One told him, the objective of the Green Skull renegades attack was a theater. The theater was having a show that night for an audience of several thousand people. If the terrorist attack succeeded, the casualties would be tremendous. Tang Wuling leaned against the wall by the corner as he waited, guarding the area. Since this was his first mission, Purple One carefully placed him in one of the least likely to face danger areas. Assuming everything proceeded without a hitch, Tang Wuling would encounter no enemies. White 1, in position, sounded Tang Wuling's earpiece. In a hurry, Tang Wuling reported as well. White 3, in position. Tang Wuling could see on the digital map that all of the agents were already in position, and now they were all patiently waiting for the Green Skull renegades to attack. Chapter 615, 7th grade soul bomb. Tang Wuling was never an impatient person. He sat down in a dark corner and quietly started using the mysterious heaven method, feeling all the slight changes around him and waiting for the night to come. According to the information they had received, the Green Skull renegades had already made some pre-arrangements in the theater, but they didn't know their full plan. It was getting dark, night was falling. Douluo City was the capital and also the largest city of the Douluo Empire. At night, the streets were lit with bright lights and bustling with people. The Star Theater was a medium-sized theater that performed a few plays every day, mainly historical plays. The Douluo Empire had a long history which was divided into 2 parts, the Douluo continent history and the Douluo continent history. The second part started after the people arrived at the Douluo continent. The theater had already begun various preparations, even though the performing wouldn't start for a while. In the first basement of the Star Theater, a manhole cover was moved away silently, and then several black figures emerged. Remember the plan? A low voice sounded, and then the black figures quickly spread out. In the theater, a handsome middle-aged man in a black tuxedo was looking at the script in his hand. He raised his eyebrows slightly and stood up with his eyes narrowed. Attention all agents, they're here. In the first basement, let's get the show on the road. The basement of the Star Theater was very complex, with concrete columns as the foundation supporting the entire theater. At this moment, the black figures were rushing to these columns, sticking round soul bombs on them. At the same time, masked agents started for the basement quietly in the dark. Tang Wuling heard the order through his earpiece and stood up, waiting. As much as he'd like to go where the real action was, he followed the order and stayed put, because he knew he wasn't strong enough. If he had a suit of one-word battle armor, both his combat skills and survivability would increase tremendously, and thus he would naturally be much safer. After Black One gave the order, Tang Wuling's earpiece fell silent. All he could do now was wait. The audience began to enter the theater. Today's play was very interesting and was one of the most popular plays the Star Theater had to offer. Spirit Ice Douluo Huo Yuao versus the Black Dragon King. The Spirit Ice Douluo had prevented the enemy from invading the Douluo Empire on his own. He was the most worshipped man on the Douluo continent. His reputation was greater here than on the Douluo continent. On the stage, some warm-up shows were already being performed. The audience had no clue that a fierce fight had broken out below them. Tang Wuling's earpiece started sounding constantly. 1 enemy down. 1 bomb defused. Number of enemies unknown. 3 down. 4 bombs in area 4. Need backup. This is Purple One. They have found us. Hurry up and go all out. Defuse the bombs first. Well done. Stay alert. They could be driven to desperate action. Good job. Thank you. Yellow 6. Surround area 6. Listening to his earpiece, Tang Wuling could barely restrain his urge to fight. He could tell the battle was quite violent. This is Purple One. Some enemies have escaped. Defuse the bombs first. All the white class agents outside. Keep your eyes peeled. Kill them if possible. Keep me posted. Tang Wuling's eyes brightened. Golden light burst in blinding radiance from Tang Wuling's body as he activated Golden Dragon Body. As 2 pieces of armor clad his right arm and shoulder, he went straight into his strongest form. No sooner had he got combat ready than a black figure jumped to the top of the wall. Damn these battle hall clowns. The man said angrily, ready the 7th grade soul bomb. Let's bury these bastards. 7th grade soul bomb. Tang Wuling thought. He knew well enough the destructive power of that weapon. Soul bombs were a terrifying kind of soul device, and they were becoming more powerful by the year. Whether in Douluo or Douluo continent, they were a devastating weapon. No private ownership was allowed except for the military. It was costly to make a soul bomb, but its power was worth the price. Tang Wuling never thought the Green Skull renegades had managed to sneak a 7th grade soul bomb into the city. If it exploded, perhaps all the buildings within several kilometers radius would be completely destroyed, let alone the theater. What Tang Wuling didn't know was that attacking the Star Theater was just part of the Green Skull renegades' plan. It was extremely difficult to get a 7th grade soul bomb into Douluo City. They had dismantled it and smuggled the numerous parts into the city. They had used all kinds of measures and devices to avoid the parts from being detected, but still, it had taken them a long time. The Green Skull renegades were really devoted. Actually, this bomb had been saved for the round-robin matches of the Continental Young Elites tournament, where all the young elites would compete. The Green Skull renegades had planned to destroy the younger generation of the Douluo Empire. However, things didn't go as they had planned. Their leader was furious now that his grand plan had unraveled and many of his men had been killed. He knew there was no way this bomb would go off at the tournament, not with the battle hall, so he decided to detonate it here. That black class agent might be able to survive the blast, but the same thing couldn't be said for the other agents. They would be killed or buried alive. The Tang sect had a close relationship with the Douluo Empire, so if the Green Skull renegades could weaken the Tang sect, their operation this time couldn't be seen as a complete failure. There were already 4 men on the top of the wall. Their leader was wearing a dark green robe, and in a flash of light, a 1-meter long bomb appeared in his hands. Tang Wuling's scalp tingled as soon as he saw the bomb. The shell was densely covered with various magic patterns, exuding a vague and gloomy atmosphere. The feeling of terror made Tang Wuling feel as if he would be wiped out at any moment. It was the first time he had seen such a high-grade soul bomb. What do I do? One man was carrying the bomb on his shoulder. He was equipped with dark purple battle armor, and his 7 soul rings sped around him in circles. Judging by the look of his battle armor, he was clearly a 2-word battle armor master. His 2 companions were setting up a base for the bomb. It was not easy to launch. Without a base, they might be caught up in the blast, which would be fatal. Should I stop them? Tang Wuling thought, knowing he couldn't stop them even if he tried. They were all battle armor masters. He didn't stand a chance against them. Chapter 616. Life or death. Tang Wuling held his breath and kept his silence. He didn't notify the others. He couldn't. If he even made a faint sound, they would spot him and then might detonate the bomb right off the bat. There was nothing to be done for it. He had no choice but to wait. He felt sweat spring out on his forehead. He had never been this close to death before. The 4 members of the Green Skull renegades set up the base proficiently and rushed the soul bomb onto it. All the bombs inside have been defused. Sounded Tang Wuling's earpiece suddenly. All agents, chase them down. Don't let them escape. All white class agents, report. This is white 1. All clear. This is white 2. All clear. But Tang Wuling didn't report. He never moved a muscle. He fixed his eyes on the movements on the wall, trying to come up with a feasible solution. All right. Time to bounce. The 2-word battle armor master on the wall spread his armor's wings, flapped to them, and leapt into the air, followed by the other 3. Gold lines started appearing on the base. Obviously, the bomb had been set on a timer. Considering the speed of battle armor masters, the 4 members of the Green Skull renegades only needed 10 seconds to get out of the explosion range, so it was safe to assume the 7th grade soul bomb would explode in 10 seconds. This is white 3, Tang Wuling shouted, jerking himself up and shooting out his vines. 4 enemies are fleeing. A 7th grade soul bomb is going to explode. Evacuate immediately. He grabbed the base with the vines and pulled at it with everything he had. He was trying to change the direction of the bomb, yet the base refused to budge. The gold line suddenly started shining intensely. That's not good. Tang Wuling immediately recognized the situation. It must have an anti-tamper device or something. I have accidentally activated its self-destruct program. The self-destruct delay time for soul bombs was 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, this place would be razed to the ground. 3 seconds was not nearly enough time for Tang Wuling to get to safety. At this crucial point, Tang Wuling found himself extremely calm, his eyes golden. With a push, he leapt over to the bomb right away. He threw his arms around the base and tried to yank it off with all his strength. Maybe he couldn't damage the solid base, but the stone wall was nothing against Tang Wuling's strength. The base and the bomb came off in his hand easily. Then he wasted no time in concentrating all his strength in his right arm, his armor giving out bright light. He started spinning like a top and flung the base and the bomb into the air. All of this happened in just a second. No sooner had the bomb left Tang Wuling's hand than he jumped again. He was strong, but the bomb and the base were heavy. He knew one throw wasn't enough. He needed to get the bomb higher in the air. The moment he jumped up, a golden light flashed from his body. Gold Song. Gold Song was becoming more powerful by the day, and it quickly fused with the vine, making it large and golden. His martial soul was now the Blue Silver Emperor. His fourth soul ring lit up. Blue Silver Overlord transformation. Empowered by Blue Silver Overlord transformation and Gold Song, the vine now looked like an aquatic dragon, which shot at the wall and then pushed Tang Wuling up like a shell out of a mortar. Only 1 second left. His sudden acceleration brought him up to the bomb in a flash. He was now 300 meters high in the sky. Tang Wuling thrust his palms out. A giant golden dragon head shot out of his fists and towards the bomb. It was golden dragon shocks the heavens. It was not an attack this time, but an all-out thrust. Engulfed in the dragon head, the bomb shot upwards like a rocket, flew over 1,000 meters in an instant, and continued flying up at high speed. The bomb went off with a loud bang, giving off dazzling light like a giant firework. It might be colorful, but the horrifying blast seemed to have warped the space around it. After Tang Wuling pushed the bomb up, the momentum continued to carry him into a place as high as 500 meters. And now, as the bomb blast reached him, it swatted him down hard like a fly. He felt a sudden choking sensation in the chest, as if he was about to be torn to pieces. His mask had been reduced to ashes, along with all his clothes. He used Golden Dragon Tyrant Body right away. His figure flashed iridescent. However, this devastating impact was too strong. Golden Dragon Tyrant Body only lasted for a couple of seconds before disappearing again. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and was about to smash into the ground. Suddenly, a dark gold figure flew over to Tang Wuling and caught him in his arms. And then dark gold light exploded, turned into a barrier, and kept the blast at bay. He was clad in dark gold armor with elegant design carved on it. His armor's wings spread. It was 3-word battle armor, and the man was Black One. Black One hurried here as soon as Tang Wuling reported. It had taken him a while since he had been in the basement. When he rushed to Tang Wuling's previous position, he looked up and saw him thrust the bomb away. The fall and the impact from the explosion might have wounded Tang Wuling severely or even killed him if not for Black One. The bomb blast had been stopped at a height of 300 meters. That was the power of a 3-word battle armor master. The farther the explosion, the less damage it would do, and Black One's timely barrier helped a lot. Although the ground shook a little, and the violent roar shattered all the glass within a few kilometers radius, it was over without serious damage. Black One landed on the ground and furled his wings. A look of terror flashed across his face. With his 3-word battle armor, he was convinced he could survive such a destructive explosion, but without preparation, even purple-class agents would have been killed, let alone others. A gentle stream of soul power seeped into Tang Wuling's body. It was the mysterious heaven method. Black One was helping him soothe his surging blood essence. Good job, kid. Black One's resounding voice was a sound for Tang Wuling's sore ears, which were still buzzing from the bang. Tang Wuling coughed up another mouthful of blood. He felt much better now though. The impact could have torn other people apart, but not him. Between his scary strong body and his Golden Dragon Tyrant body, he didn't end up with serious injuries. And with the power of the Golden Dragon King flowing through his veins, his amazing recovery speed would make him good as new by next morning. At this moment, several figures flew out from the Star Theater. They looked up at the lingering light in the sky, their eyes wild with terror. Black One took off his mask and put it on Tang Wuling's face, and then he wrapped his cloak around his body, since he was completely naked right now. Thank you, Tang Wuling said in a hoarse voice. He could barely stand. No, I should thank you. Black One patted him on the shoulder. He was really excited that a white class agent had pulled off such a great deed. All the bombs have been defused and removed. Sir, Chapter 617, Reward. Reporting. Remaining members of the Green Skull Renegades have retreated. Authorities have been alerted to conduct a search. Good. Return to base, said Black One. After he gave the order, 3 soul cars arrived quietly. Black One put his arm around Tang Wuling's shoulder, hooked his hand under his armpit, and helped him into his car. As they walked past their fellow agents, they held their chests up and thumped their left chests with right fists to show gratitude and respect. Tang Wuling was hurt and looked awful, but he felt terrific, his blood still racing from the excitement. After all, it was his first mission. There had been a close call, but he had no regret. He had saved the day as well as himself. Tang Wuling got in the car. With all the eyes on him, he felt a little uncomfortable. Black One had no mask on right now, but his face seemed not to have surprised any agents. You really outdid yourself. He smiled, looking at Tang Wuling. You deserve a fine reward for saving your fellow agents. I just did what I was supposed to do, Tang Wuling replied. Black One smiled again. You are talented, and your reflexes are a great ability. Keep up the good work. I will. Thank you, sir. From the surprised looks on the other agents' faces, it seemed Black One had never praised anybody before, at least not to their knowledge. Then they found his abnormal behavior understandable when they looked at the fact that White 3 had saved everyone. Black One was thanking Tang Wuling for all of them. When they returned to the Tang Sect headquarters in Douluo City, Black One found a healing type soulmaster to tend to Tang Wuling immediately. Then he collected all their badges. A bright light flashed from the Tang Wuling's badge, and his file in the badge had been updated. Total number of missions, 1. Total contribution points, 30,000. First class citations, 1. The data might seem simple, but there was more to it than met the eye. With 30,000 contribution points, he could buy another Tang Sect secret art. There were in total 6 Tang Sect secret arts, and Tang Wuling already knew 4. Mysterious Heaven Method, Controlling Crane Capturing Dragon, Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track, and Purple Demon Eyes. He decided to buy the 5th one, Mysterious Jade Hands. When the Tang Sect was first founded, it was famous for its hidden weapons, many of which were poisonous. The mysterious jade hands could take one's hand strength and sturdiness to another level, leaving them hard as stone and immune to any poison. The mysterious jade hands might not seem like a very powerful technique, but things are not always what they seem. After all, it was one of the Tang Sect's secret arts. As for the hidden weapons 100 separations, after being improved by generations, it had already fused with the development of soul device technology. In fact, a large number of the soul devices manufactured by the Tang Sect were based on the soul circuits in the hidden weapons 100 separations. Therefore, the hidden weapons 100 separations was the most valuable Tang Sect secret art. It was the priciest among all 6. But Tang Wuling was a blacksmith and not a mecha, so this technique was of no use to him. The benefit of a first class citation was even more extraordinary. It gave Tang Wuling the right to call as many as 30 battle hall agents to complete a mission as long as it was morally acceptable. 30 battle hall agents. When Black One told him of this right, Tang Wuling was dumbfounded. I can ask 30 agents to do a job for me? That's just amazing. Black One didn't ask him his name. It was the rule of the battle hall. No questions asked, as long as the badge was real and matched his blood essence. Different agents had different occupations and lives. They could be anywhere on the continent, which was why the battle hall was so powerful. Nobody knew the exact number of agents, except for a handful of higher-ups of the Tang Sect. To be sure, everyone in the Holy Hall was powerful, but there was strength in numbers. As such, the battle hall was unmistakably the most powerful organization. It was deep into the night when Tang Wuling finally got back to his hotel. He was exhausted, both physically and mentally. He had faced death again, except this time without any backup plans. If not for Black One, he could have died or been badly injured. It had been too dangerous. He was grateful to Master Yu for his training to face death. Thanks to the training, he had acted calmly and hadn't panicked. If he had even hesitated for just a moment, things might have been totally different. Sitting on his bed, he looked at his hands and smiled. He had bought the mysterious J hands. Now that he had all the 5 Tang Sect secret arts he needed, he could use his contribution points to buy other stuff, like spirit items. Tang Wuling felt the bond between him and the Tang Sect had become stronger after this mission. It was a strange feeling, and he liked it. He had got so many dependable and strong fellow agents, and he had saved them on his very first mission. He meditated a whole night. The next morning, when the dawn was breaking, he was already standing vigorous on his balcony cultivating the purple demon eyes. Power was everything. Tang Wuling was more convinced of that after facing death again yesterday. He had to train hard to survive. The first round of 2-on-2s was over. Today would kick off the first round of the team battle, and Tang Wuling would get on the stage with his teammates. He was excited, like last night. After he finished cultivating his purple demon eyes with the morning purple light over the horizon, he stretched his body, feeling refreshed. His spiritual power had grown again. The longer he cultivated his purple demon eyes, the better the result. It was important to have strong spiritual power. Fu Yue's spiritual power is incredible even without cultivating the purple demon eyes. Tang Wuling thought. Has she truly reached the spirit abyss realm? Did you go out last night? Fu Yue asked Tang Wuling during breakfast. Yes. I went out for a walk, he replied, smiling. Oh. She looked at him strangely. Is there something on my face? No. Tang Wuling, get your ass out here. A girl snarled. Tang Wuling froze for an instant. When he turned to look, he saw the Imperial Princess standing there in the lobby, hands on her hips, eyes glaring at him. Chapter 618. Want a bet? Captain, what did you do to her last night? She asked with a smug smile. She wants to see you first thing in the morning. Tang Wuling shot him an angry glare. Cut it out. He rose to his feet and walked over to her. Beside Dai Yuna stood a slim, attractive man. It was Dai Yuan. He looked at Tang Wuling, and then at his sister. He is a charming young man. His face is almost flawless. Moreover, he's a student of Shrek Academy. No wonder Yuna is taking an interest in him. How can I help you, Your Highness? Tang Wuling asked. By the way, I don't think it's proper for a princess to be so loud in public. He really didn't like her. Dai Yuna snorted. I came here as a commoner, not a princess. You can drop the formalities. Very well. Then what do you want? I'm here to offer you a bet. Tang Wuling raised his eyebrow in surprise. A bet? Dai Yuna nodded. Yes. Thank you, but no, thanks. With that, Tang Wuling turned around and left. You. Dai Yuna glared at him, her face pale with anger. A smile flashed across Dai Yuan's face. Such an interesting young man. And clearly, he's not a lickspittle. Don't you walk away from me. Dai Yuna caught up with Tang Wuling in 2 strides, grabbing at his arm. Tang Wuling moved his body slightly and dodged her grab with ease. Men and women should not touch each other, you know. I'm gonna kill you. Dai Yuna said through gritted teeth. Tang Wuling said solemnly, are you threatening to kill a delegate? Now Dai Yuna was mad as hell. She turned to Dai Yuan. Did you see how impertinent he is? Fourth brother, help me. Dai Yuan had no choice but to walk over to them. He looked at Tang Wuling calmly, a pressure emanating from him. Tang Wuling turned around. He's her brother? So he must be a prince of the Douluo Empire. I'm Dai Yuan. It's a pleasure to meet you. His down-to-earth introduction made a good impression on Tang Wuling. Tang Wuling greeted him with a smile. So Her Highness told you on me, but I don't think I did anything to her. Dai Yuan was taken by surprise. He doesn't seem to be affected by my pressure. He must be very strong. No, she didn't tell on you. It's just she heard so much about the prestigious Shrek Academy, the #1 academy, so she wanted to provoke you into sparring with us. I see, said Tang Wuling. He surely knows the art of talking, unlike his sister. So you came here to spar with us. I heard you were competing in the tournament, and as it happens, my sister and I are competing too. So I guess we'll see you on the stage, said Dai Yuan. You take pride in your team battles, right? Dai Yue added. Then we'll bet on the team battle. We'll annihilate you. Tang Wuling shrugged. I told you I don't bet. You have the home court advantage. Besides, gambling is a bad habit. You're setting a terrible example to your people. You're afraid of losing. Dai Yuna sneered. That makes sense, since Shrek Academy only accepts cowards. Tang Wuling frowned. You can insult me, but leave Shrek Academy out of this. I'm sure you have better things to do with your time. He whirled around and went back to his breakfast. Dai Yuna was furious and was just about to rush after him when Dai Yuan reached out and grabbed her arm. That's enough. Little sister, why didn't you help me? Dai Yuna's face was filled with anger. Dai Yuan looked down at her, confused. You're not yourself today, little sister. You possess a spiritual type martial soul. You never lost your cool. Calm down. Don't act on impulse. Revenge is a dish best served cold. His words hit Dai Yuna like a thunderbolt. Yes, what happened to me? I am the one to toy with people, and not the other way around. Dai Yuan patted her on the shoulder and dragged her away. Let's go. He would never stoop so low as to pull rank on Tang Wuling and force him to apologize. He decided to teach Tang Wuling a lesson on the stage. You have successfully got the attention of the princess, Yue Hengyu said with a gloating look. Tang Wuling paid him no mind and recommenced stuffing himself. That's not a bad thing though, Yue Hengyu added. They sure have made the competition much more interesting. Since Bu Yue refused to participate in the team battle, Xu Lizzie would compete. Each team must have a backup member, and Bu Yue was naturally taking this role. That meant she would still be present during the team battles. The popularity of team battles could be seen by the flow of people outside the Great Star Dou Stadium. Compared with the previous 2 days, the flow of people had significantly dwindled. That was because people here found team battles too chaotic to see what was going on. They had a point there. Although team battles were intenser and required more tactics, normal people found one-on-ones much more enjoyable. When Tang Wuling and his teammates came to the waiting area to check their number, it was packed. Since each team had 8 members, the stages for team battles were much larger, as a result of which, the stadium was large enough to hold only 5 simultaneous battles at once. The number of Tang Wuling's team indicated they didn't have to wait long. Suddenly, the bustling waiting area fell silent. The Shrek Academy group turned to look in surprise. A group of 8 people were walking into the waiting area. They were all neatly dressed in dark red, with a round, black symbol on the chest, which had a strangely enlarged mouthful of grotesque teeth. Monster Academy, said a low voice. Tang Wuling overheard him. This must be the famed knockoff Shrek Academy. Their uniforms are red, and ours are green. Red and green don't go well together. The man walking in front was big, bald, and about 2 meters tall, with wide shoulders and a broad back. He was giving off an aura like that of a mountain. Even Tang Wuling was impressed, and he thought he saw red in the man's eyes. The crowd parted to let them through. Then Tang Wuling saw the man behind the baldy. His eyes widened. The 4th prince of the Douluo Empire, Dai Yuan. More to his amazement, the one bringing up the rear was none other than Princess Dai Yuna. Chapter 619, Crazy Long. Dai Yuna's eyes swept around the waiting area, as if she was looking for someone. Soon she spotted Tang Wuling and smiled. Undoubtedly, she was really pretty, and her smile was like 100 flowers blooming. Yet somehow Tang Wuling felt a sudden chill down his spine. She ran over to the bald man in front and tugged at his sleeve. When the baldy looked down and found it was her, he subdued his aggressive aura and stooped down. Dai Yuna whispered something in his ear. Then he raised his head and looked to Tang Wuling, his eyes turning dark red in the blink of an eye. The air seemed to have become thick with tension the moment his eyes changed color. Many contestants shuffled back despite themselves, fear written all over their faces. The bald man started striding towards Tang Wuling. Tang Wuling's gaze sharpened and he stood his ground. He was a leader, and a leader should never show weakness or fear. He reached Tang Wuling in just a few strides, his dark red eyes shining. Are you the one who bullied Dai Yuna? His voice was deep and not particularly loud, but the pressure exuding from it was too strong to ignore. Tang Wuling smiled thinly. I don't think bully is the right word. My name is Long Yue. People call me Crazy Long. Nice to meet you. He put his hand out. Tang Wuling could see that even his skin was a little red. His hand was huge, like a cattail leaf fan. He smiled and shook his hand. Tang Wuling, a student of Shrek Academy. He gave a brief introduction. That was a strong handshake. Perhaps too strong, from the looks everyone gave them. Dai Yuna's eyes were shining with great satisfaction. Asshole, you dare to shake hands with Brother Long? You're dead. Much to her surprise, however, the two hands were motionless. As the dark red color in Long Yue's hand deepened, Tang Wulin's hand turned like golden. The two men were as steady as two rocks. Long Yue jerked his head up and stared at Tang Wulin, his dark red eyes shouting danger. Tang Wulin met his eyes without blinking, his eyes shining golden. After a good 15 seconds, their arms started shaking a little, but neither moved. Dai Yuan stepped up to them. Brother Long, that's enough. Long Yue and Tang Wulin loosened their grip at the same time. Tang Wulin was expressionless, but Long Yue suddenly burst into loud laughter, a flicker of madness flashing across his eyes. Haven't seen such an interesting opponent in ages. Too bad you're too young. It would be more fun if you were much older. Laughing, he turned around and left, followed by Dai Yuan and his sister. Tang Wulin had his right hand behind his back, presenting a cool posture, but his teammate standing beside him saw that his hand was shaking. Captain, she called in a low voice, walking over to him. Tang Wulin frowned and didn't reply. Only he knew what had happened just now. He had never met anyone who possessed more strength than Long Yue. It was the first time he had lost to someone in strength after he started breaking seals on the Golden Dragon King. Long Yue's strength was bottomless. Tang Wulin might have been calm on the outside, but he had gone all out. He hadn't used his Golden Dragon Claw, not because he hadn't wanted to, but because Long Yue had kept his claw at bay by sheer force. Nothing like that had ever happened to Tang Wulin before. He was a little frightened, partly because of Monster Academy Team's captain's unimaginable power, but mostly because of his insatiable craving for battle. Tang Wulin had never seen such a formidable opponent. Obviously, Long Yue had felt the gap between him and Tang Wulin, which was why he had said he was too young. And like he had said, Tang Wulin could be as strong as him in 4 or 5 years. But now, Gu Yue touched Tang Wulin's right hand gently and poured soul power into him. It felt like his hand was immersed in warm water, the bone-crushing pain going away quickly. Why didn't you teach him a lesson, Brother Long? Dai Yuan said to Long Yue, you could have easily crushed his hand. Long Yue laughed and stroked her head. Trust me, he got his lesson all right. If you play with a toy too much, it might break. Besides, I don't like picking on someone younger than me. His strength was a little surprising though. He is as strong as me when I was his age. Don't worry. I won't hold back on the stage. I'll help you get your revenge. Promise me. Dai Yuan held out her pinky. Long Yue smiled and locked his pinky with hers. Fine, I promise. And I never go back on my promise to you. Then he lovingly stroked her hair again. Don't mess up my hair, she pouted, but didn't bother to fix it up. She went for a walk and came back with information on Long Yue. A prodigy not seen in 1,000 years. The Shrek Academy group gaped. At least that's what I heard, said She. It said that he was already a 3-ring soul master when he was accepted into Monster Academy at 10. He possesses innate divine strength. At the age of 16, he became invincible in Monster Academy and then became the undisputed head of the Monster 8 Kings, which comprises 8 really strong students from Monster Academy. He is a legend. Nobody really knows how strong he is. I think he's at least a one-word battle armor master, and not just any one-word battle armor master. He may prove to be our most challenging opponent. We'll just do our best, said Xu Shaoan, and God will do the rest. Added Yue Sangyu. She looked at them. You two are so in sync. They're much older than us, so we don't need to feel bad even if they beat us, said Yue Sangyu. Tang Wulin said nothing, but the fire in his eyes said plenty. I don't care even if he is a prodigy not seen in a million years. There they are, Xu Lizzie said suddenly. They raised their heads and looked up at the screen on the wall. The Monster Academy would compete in the first match. Long Yue was not on the stage though. He was standing there like an immovable mountain, the madness gone from his eyes. Chapter 620. The battle begins. After getting on the stage, all the 7 members of Monster Academy looked to Long Yue. When he nodded slightly, their morale was boosted greatly. With Dai Yuan commanding them, they cruised to victory without breaking a sweat. Shishi's brows furrowed. 5 rings, 5 rings, 5 rings, 5 rings, 5 rings, 5 rings, 4 rings. All the 7 members of Monster Academy were 5-ring soul masters with the exception of the princess. On top of that, 3 members soul rings were all purple, 3 had black soul rings, and Dai Yuan possessed 2 black soul rings. Even Dai Yuna had 3 purple soul rings and 1 black one. They totally annihilated their opponents when it came to soul rings. It was hard to tell how powerful they were, since their opponents got crushed in an instant. One thing was for sure though, their teamwork was excellent. An expression of surprise dawned on Tang Wulin's face. He never expected Dai Yuna to have the same soul rings as him. I was under the impression that she was just a spoiled princess, but it turns out that she is actually a talented soul master. Monster Academy has certainly lived up to its name. They are a powerful team even without that crazy Long. If all of them are one-word battle armor masters, then the odds of us winning will drop drastically. As the number 1 academy in the whole Douluo Empire, their one-word battle armor masters must be much stronger than normal ones. With our speed and strength, we may have some chance of taking them down in one-on-one combat, but team battle is another matter entirely. Do you still remember the most fundamental rule of Shrek Academy? A cold voice sounded behind Tang Wulin and his teammates. They turned to look and found Wu Zhangkong standing there. To perform miracles, Wu Zhangkong continued. Remember who you are. It's time to prove that you're students of Shrek Academy. Tang Wulin's hand coiled into a fist, conviction glinting in his eyes. Wu Zhangkong walked over to his students and closed his eyes to think. His face was calm, but his mind was in a turmoil. He had arrived before his students and thus had seen the pure battle of strength that was disguised as a handshake. Being high in cultivation level, Wu Zhangkong was able to see more than his students. When Long Yue left laughing his loud laugh, he had given off an aura that had reminded him of the strong soul beasts in the most advanced level spirit ascension platform. Wu Zhangkong came to a shocking realization that he wasn't 100% sure he could beat Long Yue. He tried to think of someone who was of Long Yue's age and stronger than him, but found he couldn't. Maybe he really is a prodigy not seen in 1,000 years. Of course, he would never share these thoughts with his students, who had no idea how daunting their opponent was. At this moment, the competitors in the waiting area parted again. The Monster Academy group dressed in red had come back. Long Yue was walking in front. As soon as he entered the room, he gave Tang Wulin a thin smile and then strode away. Dai Yuna looked at Tang Wulin and gave him a thumbs down. Tang Wulin watched them leave, expressionless. Suddenly, a soft hand took his. I'll compete in the team battle, Yu Yue said. Her voice was almost emotionless, but it warmed his heart nonetheless. Almost as a reflex action, he grabbed her hand. Every stage for the team battle was spacious, about 300 meters in diameter. The soul barrier around each stage was apparently stronger. When Tang Wulin and his teammates entered the stage, their opponents dressed in yellow were looking at them warily. The strength battle between Tang Wulin and Long Yue had ended in a draw in their eyes, so how could they not take them seriously? Begin. The judge declared. The first team battle of the Shrek Academy group started. Standing on the stage were Tang Wulin, Yu Xinglan, Yuan and Yui, Shi, Yue Sangyu, Xu Shaoan, Xu Lizzie. Gu Yue was the substitute. Tang Wulin, Yu Xinglan, and Yuan and Yui immediately charged forward, like 3 arrows leading bows. Shi followed them and hid behind Yuan and Yui. Xu Lizzie threw buns to the others right away. They caught the buns from behind, ate them, and became lighter and faster instantly. They were agility soup buns. It seemed the Shrek Academy group's formation was loose. Yue Sangyu, Xu Shaoan, and Xu Lizzie were charging as well, but they were not as fast. However, their opponent's formation was much tighter. They rushed forward in V formation. The one taking point was a young man of average stature. 5 soul rings rose from his feet, 2 yellow and 3 purple. His soul rings were normal, but his martial soul was a fan. As his soul rings started shining, the fan grew bigger and bigger. He waved it, and suddenly a gust of wind drove down the stage. A wind-type martial soul. Tang Wulin activated Golden Dragon Body, his body shining golden, and braved the wind without losing any speed. Yu Xinglan and Yuan and Yui dodged behind their captain. With Shi still behind Yuan and Yui, the 4 of them had formed a straight line, minimizing the effect of the wind. Tang Wulin strode forward. Strong gusts of wind swept towards him, but his steps were extremely firm, bringing him closer. The young man frowned, his 5th soul ring shining. He was going to use his ace in the hole. He sure had wisdom and battle experience. Although they are young, we cannot take them lightly, as even Long Yue praised him. The young man thought. Their formation may be loose, but that's probably because they have confidence in their abilities. Me holding back might cause serious consequences. I will use my trump card to create an opportunity for my teammates. He waved his giant fan again. A blue tornado appeared and stormed towards Tang Wulin. Blue tornado, his most powerful soul skill. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.